Welcome to the Porn Stars Are People podcast. I'm here with Catherine Tayler.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
What no one has seen so far was that 1 second before we started, you asked to switch sides so that we could do some YouTube content and so that you could have your good side on camera.
Yes.
Which is really important to women. You guys have a side. You always have a side.
Oh, yeah. All my selfies are this side.
Yeah.
Tattoos this side to make sure I remember which side.
I haven't figured out. You put the tattoos on so that you could remember which side's your good side?
Yeah.
That's
pretty
hilarious.
much, yes. That's why it got there in the beginning.
I think dudes, we don't take the time to figure out what our side is, so we just take shitty selfies. So that's all I have. I have every picture of me promoting this podcast is same dumb, goofy smile, and whoever I'm interviewing, guy or they look incredible. And it's just me, just doofed up, just like, So I'm glad we get your
The
side.
first picture I seen of you was the one like this.
Was with my eyes rolled back? Oh,
Yeah.
you saw that? Yeah, what I can't remember what was that. I was getting on the plane. I rolled my eyes back and I made a little Snapchat video, and then I turned it to what do they call it? A boomerang. And then I realized it is so applicable to so many things. You can just be like, "Mom's talking." It's all that. So it's totally useful. It's gonna be my new meme, just for everything. So we're here in where are we? We're in Edison, New Jersey.
Yes.
You're about to do Exotica.
Yes.
You've been there, you said, like 7-8 years?
Since 2011 was my first time. I've been every year.
So that's 6 years. That's great. So this is my first go around. I'm gonna go figure out what this whole thing is about. What's the takeaway if somebody wants to come to one of these conventions outside of the industry? What do they expect?
I fucking know what people expect. I really do, but they don't get what they expect. But when they come, they get to see their stars and meet them.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of people feel absolutely wonderful that they got to touch and meet their star.
Yeah.
And the girls are pretty good and interact, and they just have a crazy fun time.
It's an interesting thing, and I've tried to hold this thought that your industry and my industry are similar in a lot of ways, but when I get off stage, there's this little expectation for you to talk to the crowd, and it took me a long time to figure out that, like, when you do that, when somebody has to buy you a drink, and I'll be like, "Oh, I don't drink," but I realize they're not buying the drink for them. They're buying it, they're not buying it for me. They're buying it for them. They're buying it so that they can hang out, have that conversation, and like feel like a part of whatever they just saw. They connected with you somehow on stage. So I'm wondering how that plays itself out for what you do, like, because it's a whole different thing. Because there's no interaction with the fan base, so there's this voyeuristic thing, and they show up. Do they feel like they know you? Is there like this thing?
For me, I'm a cam girl, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
I interact with my fans, so when they come, it's like super cool that they got to meet who they've been friends with.
Yeah.
Literally friends with
for
8 years, so they feel pretty good about that.
So that's cool. So yeah, that's a whole other level. That's what we've been talking about, like this next level of entertainment where there is this like almost one-on-one interaction with people, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's almost making it so that porn is better than sex. Like that's kind of where we're at. Like there's certain levels.
I want to plead the fifth on that, but
okay,
I have to agree with you.
It's just that, the level that they're coming out with of specificness and being able to cater to somebody's needs. I can't remember we were having this conversation. I was out in St. Petersburg and Tampa, and that's the fetish capital of the world. And so the big conversation there was that people have specific wants and needs. Maybe they don't ask for them in person, but they can do it through this portal, and somehow that allows them to quench the desires that they otherwise wouldn't get in real life. So there's something, something you guys are tapping into. So what else? Okay, so what else you do besides being in Edison? You're basically within the tri-state area, New York City area. Are you going to actually use this time to go do anything fun in New York? Do you have that? You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head because we actually drove from Seattle.
You drove? No shit.
We drove. It took us almost 4 days to get here. And so I think when we go back, we're just not going to stop anywhere.
Yeah.
One place in particular. We're just going to see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just drove. Did you just drive? So 4 days. Now I drove last year around this time. I drove to Portland, and I think we stopped once in Champaign, but basically we were doing 18-hour days, just
Yeah.
crushing mileage. So 4 days. So 4 days took you to come, which is pretty. That's a hustle. So where'd you stop in the
We
four times?
stopped in Billings, Montana.
Okay.
I think we stopped somewhere in South Dakota,
Yeah.
and then Mercer, Wisconsin. Is
No
that
shit.
What it
So
is?
you went to like all these sort of like
11 states.
Yeah, but Montana, South Dakota, Wisconsin are very not barren, but there's more nature than there is people in those places. So that's a beautiful chunk of drive.
Yeah.
Because you can go from Seattle, you can go the route where I think you come down, you go through like Utah, and then I guess it's the same thing, but you could go through the Colorado and that kind of thing. So all of that stuff is pretty. But dude, I hit so many snowstorms, crazy shit, because I did it in December.
We worried about that, but
yeah.
we only got rain for about 10 hours of the whole trip. So
Yeah.
it was pretty amazing.
That's awesome. So that's cool. So why would you drive as opposed to fly on this particular situation?
Because I just moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
And I loved to drive, and when I lived in Canada, I drove everywhere. So I was like, I want to drive to Jersey this year.
Oh fuck it, yeah. So this is the first time you've driven cross country. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, I love it. I don't know why. The flying for me, it's like if you're going anywhere within 10 hours, you may as well drive.
Yeah.
Because it's good. Messing with the flight, you're going to get there 3 hours early. You're going through security. You come down. You got to get somebody to pick you up at the airport. You're messing with 5-6 hours anyway.
Yeah.
You're not gaining any time by flying in most occasions. Now, cross country, flying helps a little bit, but
I'm a horrible flyer, too.
Yeah?
I'm the one who's shaking white-knuckled with the barf bag.
Oh, no shit. Have you puked on a flight?
I did one time, but I think it was more because I was hungover. And I was leaving an Exotica at that
Yeah.
time. And a doctor happened to be sitting next to me, and yeah, she handed me the bag.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you think she was a doctor, or do you think she was just some creepy dude that was like, I'm a doctor?
No.
That's funny. Wow, yeah, I hate making an announcement, because then the next thing that happens in your life is life catches up with you. But I've never puked in public.
Really?
I've only ever puked I puked once on the sidewalk in New York City, and I learned a valuable lesson, which is if you're going to puke on the street, you should either you stand on the curb or you got to puke onto a different surface.
Yes.
Because it just explodes under your shoes.
Yes, you might as well have puked all over yourself.
You did. I mean, and you did. So it was the second. It was like in 12 years I've probably eaten McDonald's twice. One of the times got wildly sick. It was right before a show too. I was just dead ass broke. It was like 12 years ago, and I was like I gotta get a Big Mac. And when you put that into your body and you haven't had it in there for 10 years,
God,
it's an issue. And then the other time I got the healthy option at McDonald's, and I excused myself from work, and I'm on my way home. I'm like a block from my house. I'm gonna make it home to puke in my trash can, or into my toilet rather. And then I get right on the corner, and it's not happening, and I just shoes. Everything
in New York.
Yeah, on a corner in Brooklyn, in New York City. Yeah, it was rough. Luckily it was like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So there was like no witnesses. But
That's
it didn't.
a good thing.
Yeah, it didn't make me feel any better. Puking on an airplane though, I don't know if I can handle that.
Oh, it was hard.
I don't know what.
Try silently puking.
Because you didn't want
'Cause
to
you're on a
disturb
plane.
anybody.
Yes.
You were like respectfully
Yeah, like-
puking. Well, I've never really. I'm never invited into the bathroom when my girl is puking, and at any point in my life, I've just come to think of it, like whenever I've always had girlfriends that wanted to get me drunk and basically got me to puke, and then like stood there and like watched me. And I have this weird thing when I get drunk and puke, I don't puke in the toilet, I puke in the bathtub for some reason, or the sink. I don't know why. It's very gross. But so I'm wondering, do girls puke like they sneeze? They unconditionally try to make it like polite and quiet.
When I puked, I yell, "Hello, come here." If he doesn't hear, I'm like, "Ah," instead of the.
Yeah. So when you're home and with your husband, you're a drama queen about it.
Fuck
But if
yeah.
you're in public, you're gonna be a lady about it.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's I've heard various stories of people puke in the bag and then just like fold it back up and then just casually put it away as if they were like a professional puker on planes.
Oh God, no! I shove it under my shirt and go in the bathroom.
You put the
bag.
You put the bag under your shirt so nobody would see
Yeah,
it.
I don't want people to see it.
And then you brought it in the bathroom, and then what'd you do? Then you
Just throw it in the garbage.
okay. I was gonna say, you go through the whole part. You dump it, you rinse it out, you bring it back.
Oh fuck no! I'm sick. I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah. No. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to rinse it, put it back, so that the next person has your wet ass bag. No, that's not the goal. And they don't check the planes well enough that I think they would find. I think if you left a barf bag, I think
You'd leave it for the next one.
no, I'm not saying I would, but I'm saying I think it's probably happened where somebody put it in the thing and they don't get to it, and the next guy has the benefit.
It's a fetish.
Is it?
To see somebody else's puke is
What?
a fetish.
This is what we were talking about the other day, that everything basically is a fetish.
Yes.
There's something about, and I think it's something. You're from Canada, so maybe you could speak to this a little bit. I think it has something to do with how we approach everything in this country. I was talking with somebody about how we approach death wrong. I think we approach sex wrong. Everything is bottled up. And so then because of that, like the effects are this just opening of doors that I think otherwise would stay shut.
Yes.
Is it now in Canada?
Yeah.
I didn't grow up there. I don't know what censorship was like on television. So in Canada, is it the same general attitude about everything? Everything kind of stays behind closed doors?
To an extent, yeah. Yeah. I think they're a little bit more laid back, but not as open as they are here.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. But behind closed doors.
So do you find there's a bigger fetish market in Canada versus the US or same?
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now because you're on the internet and that's kind of where the bread and butter comes from. Do you find that there is is there a pocket of the world that like is your fan base that you just wouldn't have figured would have been your like?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
where is that?
I mostly get men from India.
Interesting. Okay.
And I get lots from France.
Okay.
Which is funny because my husband's from France.
Yeah.
And I didn't meet him in France.
Okay.
So now I got all these French dudes coming, and England.
Interesting. Okay.
And they're the kinkiest in England.
I could see, and I could totally see, and that's funny because those are three really powerful, really sexy accents.
Yes.
So, and accents don't play out. You can't add the accent in when you're typing, so you don't get to be as sexy if you're a French. I guess if you're a French guy, sometimes you speak in a different way, the way you put your words together, so you can almost maybe see the accent and the way they're typing. But I could totally see India being into you. Yeah.
Oh.
Just because of, and it's that thing. We all want what we can't have, and we all crave what's not around us, right? It's like every person that I know that has curly hair wants straight hair. Every person with straight hair wants curly hair.
I'm guilty. I need it straight. I have curly hair, but I will spend 3 hours curling my hair.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Why?
It's a girl thing.
I think it's an everybody thing. We all just we want. I talk about this on stage a little bit when I try to. Crowds will tighten up when I talk about sex sometimes, and so I got a couple of mechanisms to get them out of it. But I got this one intro to one of my jokes is about how every guy wants to fuck an amputee and a midget. I don't know why.
I've seen this.
We just all want to fuck. We want to fuck all of the categories. We want to have all of the things.
I got anal down. I got big boobs down. Now I got to get to blowjobs. It's like a checklist.
Yeah, it is a weird. It's a weird thing, and it really does, especially when you're first coming into your own. I found that when I was in my 20s in New York, and I didn't really, I had very few partners, and I had the perfect number of I had the number of partners where if somebody would ask you, so it was like in that vicinity. It was like where somebody would ask you, because this is a big thing for girls, is they'll ask you, like girls, there's civilian girls will like ask you how many girls you've been with, and in my 20s I would fall for it every time, and I had the numbers that were perfect that you say, and they're like, oh, and they like would feel comfortable with that. Now I'm like an old man, and I just like, it's like, you don't talk about it. You didn't talk about what happened in the 80s. So, but but there becomes this point where as a dude you're just like, and you haven't found the person, and so you just start going off. All right, I don't know, what's the checklist? I've never been with this kind of girl.
Yeah.
It's this weird thing, and I think it plays out. I think it plays out in porn too, aggressively.
Very much so.
Because we just get to. I mean, we get to pick. It's like Chipotle. We get to pick our toppings.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The menu.
Yeah. So. That's an interesting little world that we've created. Because it's funny. Because that's how every restaurant is now too. You literally, it's just like you pick the main thing and then you go down the list and you just keep adding shit on. That's crazy. The So what else? Okay, so you're gonna drive back. You're trying to figure out whether or not you're gonna plan it and do some sightseeing, or
perhaps.
Yeah.
I want to see the mountain with the faces.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, that's because that's the route you went.
Sorry, everybody. I don't know this.
Rushmore. It's called Mount Rushmore. And when this is the problem with the internet now, is that every time you know what the thing is, you know what Mount Rushmore is, but every time you need the word now,
you can't spit it out.
You can't access it.
You just Google the mountain with the four
right,
faces.
and then you just that's my favorite new thing is to Google when I can't figure out what it is, but I have enough information to know where he is in my brain. I'll put all that stuff into Google and see if they can figure it out. So I had yesterday. I couldn't think of the name of a DC rapper who kind of it like does a funk thing, who was on this one cypher with this other rapper, and I just put all of it into Google and I just let them figure it out, and they figured out it was Anderson .Paak. But you just put the mountain of the faces, and I swear to God, Mount Rushmore will come up.
Yes.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure. I think you should see it. I think you were right there. It's in South Dakota, right?
It was an hour south of where we were at the time.
Yeah.
And that day, I think, was the 14-hour drive.
Yeah, so you're like, I can't add shit. Yeah.
But if on the way back I can see it,
Yeah.
I would absolutely love it.
I think you should. I've never seen it. I've never seen it either. That's the one area of the country that I haven't somehow hit. I've hit up the Midwest heavily. I've hit up the Pacific Northwest heavily. But in that middle northish chunk, pretty much from Michigan through like Idaho.
Yeah.
I've been through, but haven't done the due diligence on either doing comedy to find out what kind of humans are there or seeing the sights. It's a weird in my head, and I think this is a northeastern thing. I think we just think that's just all nothing.
Yeah.
That's just
even
all
on
woods.
the West Coast, they think, "Oh, you're from nowhere."
Yeah, there's nothing there. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. Yeah, but so Seattle's an interesting vibe. Seattle is. I don't know. What do they say? It's like the original Portland. Would you say?
Like hipster? It's very hipster.
It's got the like don't litter, I own a bicycle thing.
Healthy living.
Yeah.
If you eat a Big Mac, you're gonna get frowned on.
Right. And everybody, it's like that vibe. I think it's a bunch of people that think that they know, and then I think the more that you like delve into those conversations, you realize they don't know any more than anybody else.
Exactly.
The older I get, the more I realize everybody's full of shit. Me, you, everybody. All the people that I met on the way up here. Everybody's full of shit, and we're all just trying to.
You're like, you're full of shit.
We're all just trying to figure it out.
Look, you don't even have to say the words anymore. It's you're full of shit. Look.
And we all have to, but we all have to pretend like we know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. You don't know.
You can always say, "I read somewhere on the internet."
That was my favorite. That was one of my my first jokes, because I was dating this girl when I first got to New York. I was dating this girl who read like Us Weekly and shit like that. She read garbage, and we were having a conversation, and it was something like, and it used to mean something. When you used to say, "I read that," I think I read that somewhere. It used to mean something, and now it's like. It could have been Wikipedia, which was written by whoever and verified by nobody. Yeah. I think I read that somewhere. It has no value in today's society.
Anymore.
It sucks, man. It sucks. Well, now that I'm depressed. So 4 days here, a couple days back. It's weird. It's